What if the most attractive people you have ever met were not trying to be attractive at all? Not performing, not chasing attention, not rehearsing clever things to say. What if their magnetism was something far simpler, far deeper, and far more learnable than anything you have been told? In this session, produced by Brainpower Audiobooks, you are going to discover exactly that. You will learn the scientifically grounded habits behind what researchers call silent attraction. You will understand why trying hard to impress people actually pushes them away, and how developing the right internal systems creates an irresistible external presence. By the time this session is finished, you will know precisely how to become the kind of person others are naturally drawn toward, without chasing, without performing, and without ever compromising who you genuinely are. This is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming the fullest version of who you already are, so completely and so naturally that attraction becomes inevitable. The goal is simple and profound: to create your iron mind and let everything else follow from there. The psychology of silent magnetism. The biggest mistake most people make when trying to become more attractive is focusing entirely on the wrong things. They obsess over what to say, how to act, and what techniques to use. They miss the fundamental truth that attraction operates on a much deeper level than conscious behavior. Silent attraction works because it taps into the oldest, most primitive parts of the human brain. When we encounter someone who possesses genuine confidence, emotional stability, and social intelligence, our subconscious mind recognizes these as markers of genetic fitness, social status, and potential partnership value. This recognition happens in milliseconds, long before any words are exchanged. Research from Harvard's Social, Cognitive, and Affective Neuroscience Lab shows that our brains are constantly scanning for social signals that indicate someone's value as a potential ally, leader, or partner. These assessments happen through mirror neurons that unconsciously mimic and evaluate the emotional states and behavioral patterns of others. When you encounter someone with silent magnetism, your brain picks up on hundreds of micro-signals simultaneously. Their posture communicates confidence without arrogance. Their breathing suggests emotional regulation. Their eye contact demonstrates presence and attention. Their movement patterns indicate physical awareness and control. None of this requires them to speak a single word, yet it creates an immediate and powerful impression. This is why the most charismatic leaders, successful entrepreneurs, and naturally attractive people seem so effortless. They are not performing attraction, they are embodying it. Their habits, mindset, and internal state create an external presence that others find magnetic. Research by Dr. Albert Mehrabian revealed that only 7% of communication impact comes from words, while 38% comes from vocal qualities and 55% from body language and presence. This means that 93% of your attractiveness has nothing to do with what you say and everything to do with how you carry yourself and the energy you project. Here is where most people go wrong. They try to fake these signals through surface-level changes. They force better posture, practice scripted conversations, or adopt behaviors that do not match their internal state. This creates incongruence. And humans are exceptionally skilled at detecting incongruence. When your external behavior does not match your internal reality, people sense something is off, even if they cannot explain why. Silent attraction works precisely because it is authentic. It emerges from genuine self-development, real confidence, and actual competence. You cannot fake the calm presence of someone who has learned to regulate their emotions. You cannot mimic the natural confidence of someone who has built real skills and overcome genuine challenges. You cannot replicate the social ease of someone who genuinely cares about others. This is why the habits explored throughout this session are not simply behaviors to adopt. They are transformative practices that change who you are at a fundamental level. When you develop them consistently, they rewire your nervous system, reshape your identity, and transform your presence in ways that create genuine magnetism. The people who possess silent attraction have typically spent years, often unconsciously, developing habits that signal high value. They have learned to be comfortable with themselves, to regulate their emotions under pressure, to show genuine interest in others, and to move through the world with purpose and presence. These are not personality traits they were born with. They are skills developed through consistent practice. Understanding this distinction is crucial because it means silent attraction is learnable. You do not need to be naturally extroverted, exceptionally good-looking, or blessed with innate charisma. You need to develop the internal qualities that create external magnetism. As you build these habits, they become part of your identity. You stop thinking about being attractive and start simply being attractive. The foundation of presence and energy management. Before diving into specific habits, you need to understand the foundation that makes everything else possible: presence and energy management. This is the invisible force that determines whether people are drawn to you or unconsciously avoid you, regardless of what you say or do. Presence is not about being the loudest person in the room. True presence is about being fully engaged with the current moment and the people in it. It means having such complete awareness and control over your internal state that others can feel your groundedness and stability. The neuroscience of presence reveals why this quality is so magnetically attractive. When you are truly present, your nervous system is regulated, your breathing is deep and controlled, and your body language naturally opens up. This creates what researchers call psychological safety. People unconsciously relax around those who are genuinely present because they sense no threat, no agenda, and no emotional instability. Most people exist in a state of partial presence. They are physically in one place while mentally somewhere else, thinking about what happened earlier, worrying about what might happen later, or planning what they will say next. This scattered attention creates an energy that others find draining rather than attractive. Developing true presence starts with managing your internal energy. Your energy is the sum total of your thoughts, emotions, physical state, and attention. When these elements are aligned and controlled, you project something compelling. When they are scattered or conflicted, you repel others even if you are saying all the right things. The first component of energy management is emotional regulation. Attractive people have learned to maintain emotional equilibrium regardless of external circumstances. They do not get triggered by minor inconveniences, do not react emotionally to criticism, and do not allow other people's moods to dictate their own. This emotional stability is incredibly attractive because it signals psychological maturity and reliability. When others know you will not become reactive or volatile, they feel safe to be authentic around you. Developing emotional regulation requires understanding the physiology of emotions. Emotions are full-body phenomena that affect your breathing, posture, facial expressions, and vocal tonality. Learning to recognize the early physical signs of emotional activation allows you to intervene before emotions take control of your behavior. Conscious breathing is fundamental to this. When you breathe deeply and slowly, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which promotes calm and clear thinking. When you breathe shallowly or rapidly, you activate your sympathetic nervous system, which creates stress and reactive behavior. Attractive people breathe from their diaphragm, maintain a slow and steady rhythm, and use breath to reset their emotional state when needed. The second component is attention control. Where you place your attention determines the quality of your presence. When your attention is scattered, your presence becomes diluted. When your attention is completely engaged with the person or situation in front of you, your presence becomes magnetic. Developing attention control means training yourself to be singularly focused. When you are in a conversation, you are 100% present in that conversation. You are not thinking about your phone, planning your next activity, or judging what the other person is saying. This level of attention is rare in our distracted world, which is precisely what makes it so powerful. People are so accustomed to partial attention that when they experience someone's complete presence, it feels almost intoxicating. The third component is physical awareness. Your body is constantly communicating information about your internal state, and others are unconsciously reading these signals. When your body is tense, contracted, or fidgety, it communicates anxiety and insecurity. When it is relaxed, open, and grounded, it communicates confidence and ease. Many people carry chronic tension in their shoulders, jaw, or stomach without realizing it. This tension affects not only how they feel internally, but also creates an energy that others find uncomfortable. Learning to consciously release this tension while maintaining good posture and alert engagement creates a physical presence that others find appealing and calming. The integration of emotional regulation, attention control, and physical awareness creates what we might call grounded presence. This is the quality that makes someone's energy feel solid, stable, and attractive. When you develop it, your voice becomes more resonant and calm. Your eye contact becomes steadier and more genuine. Your movement becomes more fluid and purposeful. Your listening becomes more attentive and empathetic. These changes happen naturally as expressions of your improved internal state, not as behaviors you are trying to perform. Mastering the art of strategic silence and deep listening. In a world where everyone is competing to be heard, the person who has mastered strategic silence and deep listening stands out like a beacon. This is not about being quiet or passive. It is about understanding that silence and listening are active, powerful tools that create profound attraction and connection. The psychology behind strategic silence rests on several key principles. First, silence creates space for others to reveal themselves. When you are comfortable with pauses and quiet moments, you give people permission to think, process, and share more deeply than they would in rapid-fire conversation. This creates intimacy that most people rarely experience. Second, silence demonstrates confidence and self-control. People who feel the need to fill every moment with words are often operating from anxiety or insecurity, afraid that silence means they are boring or not contributing enough. Someone who is comfortable with silence projects the confidence of someone who does not need to prove themselves through constant verbal performance. Third, strategic silence makes your words more impactful when you do speak. If you are always talking, your words lose their weight. If you speak thoughtfully and only when you have something valuable to contribute, people listen more intently. The neuroscience of listening reveals why deep listening is one of the most attractive qualities a person can possess. When someone feels truly heard and understood, their brain releases oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. This creates feelings of trust, connection, and positive association with the person who provided that experience. Most people are poor listeners, not because they do not care, but because they have never learned to listen properly. They listen to respond rather than to understand. They formulate their next comment while the other person is still speaking. Deep listening is an active, engaged process that requires significant mental and emotional energy. It involves four key components. The first is present moment awareness. being completely focused on the person speaking, putting away distractions, making eye contact, and using your full attention to understand not just their words, but their emotions, intentions, and underlying needs. The second is emotional attunement, listening not just to the content of what someone is saying, but to the emotional subtext. Are they excited, anxious, sad, frustrated, hopeful? Often the emotion behind the words is more important than the words themselves. When you recognize and acknowledge someone's emotional state, they feel seen and validated in a way that creates deep connection. The third is curiosity without judgment, approaching others with genuine curiosity about their perspective, experiences, and thoughts. Suspending your own judgments and focusing on understanding how the world looks through their eyes is rare and incredibly attractive because it makes people feel valued and interesting. The fourth is reflective feedback, occasionally reflecting back what you have heard to ensure understanding and to demonstrate active engagement. Phrases like, "It sounds like you are feeling frustrated because," or "If I understand correctly, you are saying," not only ensure clear communication, but make the speaker feel genuinely heard. A strategic silence also involves knowing when not to give advice or try to fix someone's problems. Most of the time, people do not want solutions. They want to be heard. Learning to sit with someone's discomfort without immediately trying to fix it demonstrates emotional maturity and respect for the other person's autonomy. In group settings, the person who listens well and speaks thoughtfully often emerges as a natural leader even if they say relatively few words. Their contributions, when they come, synthesize or elevate the conversation in ways others find valuable. Start practicing in low-stakes conversations. Focus on listening for understanding. Practice being comfortable with brief pauses. Ask follow-up questions that demonstrate you have been paying attention. As these skills deepen, your conversations become more meaningful, your relationships deepen, and your overall attractiveness increases significantly. The power of calm confidence and emotional stability. Calm confidence is perhaps the most universally attractive quality a person can possess. Yet it is also one of the most misunderstood. It is not about being loud, aggressive, or dominating. It is not about never feeling fear, doubt, or uncertainty. Calm confidence is about maintaining your center and emotional equilibrium regardless of external circumstances. The psychology of calm confidence is rooted in what psychologists call emotional regulation and distress tolerance. People who possess it have developed the ability to experience difficult emotions without being controlled by them. They can feel anxiety without becoming anxious in their behavior. They can experience disappointment without becoming negative or reactive. They can face uncertainty without becoming paralyzed or frantic. This emotional stability is attractive on multiple levels. From an evolutionary perspective, it signals that someone would be a reliable partner or ally during difficult times. From a social perspective, it creates psychological safety for others, allowing them to relax and be more authentic in your presence. The neuroscience behind this reveals why it is so powerful. When you maintain emotional equilibrium under pressure, you are demonstrating advanced prefrontal cortex function, the part of the brain responsible for executive decision-making, impulse control, and emotional regulation. People with calm confidence have learned to recognize the difference between feeling an emotion and being controlled by that emotion. They understand that emotions are temporary experiences that provide information, but they do not allow these emotions to dictate their behavior. This does not mean suppressing or denying difficult emotions. Emotional suppression creates more problems than it solves and often leads to explosions or passive-aggressive behavior. Instead, calm confidence involves acknowledging emotions, while maintaining choice about how to respond. Development begins with understanding your emotional patterns and triggers. Most people have predictable emotional responses to certain situations. They know they will feel anxious before public speaking, frustrated in traffic, or defensive when criticized. Yet they often feel helpless to change these responses. Calm confidence develops when you learn to recognize these patterns early and intervene before they take control. This requires developing what psychologists call metacognition, thinking about your thinking. You learn to observe your emotional state from a slight distance, almost like a scientist studying an interesting phenomenon. Mindfulness is fundamental to developing this observational capacity. Mindfulness does not mean being perpetually calm or zen. It means being aware of what is happening in your mind and body in real time, without judgment or the immediate need to change it. This awareness creates space between stimulus and response, allowing you to choose your behavior rather than simply reacting automatically. Conscious breathing is one of the most practical tools available. When you notice yourself becoming reactive, a few deep, slow breaths can activate your parasympathetic nervous system and restore equilibrium. Physical posture also plays a crucial role. Research from Harvard Business School shows that adopting confident postures for just 2 minutes can increase testosterone and decrease cortisol, creating genuine changes in confidence and stress levels. Standing tall, keeping your shoulders back, and maintaining an open chest position not only makes you look more confident, it actually makes you feel more confident. Calm confidence also involves developing stress inoculation, gradually exposing yourself to manageable levels of stress, uncertainty, or challenge in order to build your tolerance. Just as physical exercise builds physical strength, emotional exercise builds emotional strength by subjecting your nervous system to controlled challenges. This might involve taking on public speaking opportunities, having difficult conversations you have been avoiding, or putting yourself in social situations that stretch your comfort zone. The way you talk to yourself internally has a massive impact on your ability to maintain calm confidence. People with emotional stability have typically developed self-compassion, the ability to treat themselves with kindness and understanding during difficult moments rather than harsh self-criticism. Self-compassion does not mean making excuses. It means recognizing that making mistakes, experiencing setbacks, and feeling difficult emotions are part of the human experience. When you make a mistake, instead of spiraling into shame, you can acknowledge the mistake, learn from it, and move forward with your confidence intact. Calm confidence also involves accepting uncertainty as a fundamental part of life. Many people destroy their emotional equilibrium by trying to predict, control, or guarantee outcomes that are inherently uncertain. People with calm confidence have learned to be comfortable with not knowing. They understand that uncertainty is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be navigated skillfully. This comfort with uncertainty is deeply attractive because it signals emotional maturity and psychological strength. When you possess calm confidence, several things happen automatically. Your voice becomes more resonant and steady. Your eye contact becomes more direct and comfortable. Your movement becomes more fluid and purposeful. Your decision-making becomes clearer and more decisive. Your communication becomes more honest and direct. These changes occur naturally as expressions of your improved emotional regulation. Developing authentic social intelligence and emotional awareness. Social intelligence is the ability to navigate complex social situations with awareness, skill, and authenticity. It is not about manipulation or playing social games. It is about understanding the subtle dynamics of human interaction and responding in ways that create connection, trust, and mutual respect. The foundation of social intelligence is emotional awareness, both of yourself and others. Most people go through social interactions with only surface-level awareness of the emotional undercurrents constantly flowing between people. They miss subtle signs that someone is uncomfortable, the nonverbal cues that indicate interest or disinterest, and the emotional needs that lie beneath surface-level conversation. Every conversation has multiple layers happening simultaneously. There is the surface level, what people are saying with their words. There is the emotional level, what people are feeling and how those feelings are affecting their communication. And there is the relational level, how people are positioning themselves relative to each other and what social dynamics are at play. People with high social intelligence perceive and navigate all three levels simultaneously. The first component of emotional awareness is recognizing emotional states in others. This requires learning to read facial expressions, body language, vocal tonality, and energy levels. Most people focus primarily on words, but research shows that the majority of emotional communication happens through nonverbal channels. Learning to read emotional states involves paying attention to micro-expressions, brief involuntary facial expressions that reveal genuine emotions. It involves noticing body language patterns that indicate comfort or discomfort, engagement or withdrawal, openness or defensiveness. The second component is understanding your own emotional impact on others. Most people are largely unconscious of the emotional effect they have in social situations. They do not realize that their anxiety makes others uncomfortable, that their excitement overwhelms some personality types, or that their intensity intimidates people who prefer gentler interaction styles. Developing this awareness requires honest self-reflection. Do people seem to relax or tense up around you? Do they open up or become more guarded? The third component is understanding group dynamics and social hierarchies. Every group has implicit power structures, alliances, and communication patterns. People with high social intelligence can quickly assess these dynamics and navigate them skillfully, recognizing who has formal and informal influence, understanding unspoken rules of different social contexts, and knowing how to contribute in ways that are valued and appreciated. Social intelligence also involves cognitive empathy, the ability to understand and predict how others think and feel without necessarily feeling the same emotions yourself. This is particularly valuable in conflict resolution, negotiation, and leadership. When you can understand how others see a situation, what their concerns and motivations are, and what they need to feel satisfied, you can find solutions that work for everyone. Another crucial aspect is knowing how to handle social mistakes and awkward moments gracefully. Everyone says the wrong thing sometimes, misreads social cues, or finds themselves in uncomfortable situations. People with high social intelligence navigate these moments with humor, honesty, and grace rather than defensiveness or embarrassment. The ability to handle social imperfection with confidence and ease is deeply attractive because it signals emotional maturity and resilience. Social intelligence also includes understanding social reciprocity and contribution. Attractive people look for ways to add value to others' lives, whether through emotional support, practical help, interesting conversation, or simply positive energy. This does not mean keeping score. It means understanding that relationships thrive when both people feel they are receiving value. When you develop authentic social intelligence, people feel comfortable and valued in your presence. They trust that you understand them, that you will not judge them harshly, and that you genuinely care about their experience. The art of purposeful movement and physical presence. Your body is constantly communicating information about your internal state, confidence level, and social value. Every movement you make, every gesture you use, and every position you hold sends signals that others unconsciously interpret and respond to. The science of embodied cognition reveals that your physical posture and movement patterns do not just reflect your mental state, they actually influence and create your mental state. When you adopt confident postures and purposeful movement patterns, you do not just look more attractive, you become more confident, alert, and emotionally regulated. This creates a positive feedback loop where improved physical presence enhances mental state, which further improves physical presence. Purposeful movement is characterized by three key qualities. First is intentionality. Every movement serves a purpose and is executed with awareness rather than happening automatically or nervously. Second is fluidity. Movements flow smoothly from one to another without jerky, abrupt, or hesitant transitions. Third is groundedness. Movements originate from a stable, centered base rather than from tension or imbalance. The foundation of attractive physical presence is what martial artists and dancers call centering. This involves maintaining awareness of your physical center of gravity, typically located just below your navel, and moving from this stable base. When you move from your center, your movements naturally become more fluid, purposeful, and graceful. Most people carry chronic tension in their shoulders, neck, or jaw, which creates movement patterns that appear anxious, rushed, or uncomfortable. Learning to consciously release this tension while maintaining good posture is fundamental. Eye contact is perhaps the most powerful aspect of physical presence. Effective eye contact is not about staring intensely or maintaining constant visual contact. It is about making genuine, comfortable contact that demonstrates presence and interest without creating pressure or discomfort. Make eye contact when listening, break it naturally when speaking or thinking, and return to it in a rhythm that feels organic and unforced. With close friends and intimate partners, longer periods of eye contact feel natural and connecting. With new acquaintances or in professional settings, briefer but genuine eye contact demonstrates respect and attention without creating intimacy pressure. Open gestures where your palms are visible and your arms are uncrossed signal openness and honesty. Closed gestures where your arms are crossed or your hands are hidden can signal defensiveness or discomfort. Confident walking is characterized by a steady pace, upright posture, and smooth gait. The head is held high. The shoulders are back but not rigid. The stride is neither rushed nor hesitant, determined by purpose rather than anxiety. Sitting posture is equally important. Attractive sitting involves maintaining an upright but relaxed posture, keeping your feet grounded, and positioning your body in a way that demonstrates engagement with the environment and people around you. Voice and speaking patterns are technically part of physical presence, since voice is produced by the physical mechanisms of breathing, posture, and muscle tension. Attractive vocal presence is characterized by speaking from a relaxed, grounded place rather than from tension or anxiety. This typically results in a slightly deeper, more resonant voice that carries well without being loud or forced. Many people speak too quickly when nervous. Attractive speech finds a moderate pace that allows for clear articulation and gives listeners time to process information. To develop purposeful movement, spend time each day consciously observing your posture and movement habits. Notice when you are holding tension, when your movements feel rushed, and when your posture is closed or defensive. Practice basic centering exercises. Stand with your feet shoulder-width apart, breathe deeply, and imagine roots growing from your feet into the ground. The goal is not to adopt a fake or performed physicality, but to develop authentic physical presence that reflects and supports your best self. Building unshakable inner confidence through competence. True confidence cannot be faked, performed, or adopted as a surface-level behavior. Authentic confidence emerges from competence, self-knowledge, and the accumulated evidence of your ability to handle challenges, learn from setbacks, and achieve meaningful goals. This inner confidence is far more attractive than any external display of bravado because it is genuine, stable, and grounded in reality. The psychology of confidence reveals that it is not a fixed personality trait, but a dynamic state that emerges from the interaction between your capabilities, your self-perception, and your track record of success. People with genuine confidence have typically invested significant time and effort in developing real skills, knowledge, and emotional resilience that give them legitimate reasons to feel capable and self-assured. The foundation of unshakable confidence is competence development. This means becoming genuinely good at things that matter to you and that create value in the world. Whether it is professional skills, creative abilities, physical fitness, emotional intelligence, or problem-solving capabilities, developing real competence gives you something solid to feel confident about. Many people try to build confidence through positive thinking or affirmations, but this approach often fails because it is not grounded in reality. Your subconscious mind knows the difference between genuine capability and wishful thinking. Real confidence develops when your self-perception aligns with actual evidence of your abilities and achievements. Building competence requires embracing what psychologists call productive discomfort, regularly challenging yourself with tasks and goals that stretch your current abilities without overwhelming you completely. This is why confident people often have a history of pursuing challenging goals and persisting through difficulties. They have accumulated evidence that they can learn new things, overcome obstacles, and achieve objectives that initially seemed difficult. This track record creates a deep sense of self-efficacy, the belief that you can handle whatever challenges life presents. Self-knowledge is another crucial component of inner confidence. This involves understanding your strengths and weaknesses, your values and priorities, and your natural patterns of thinking and behaving. When you know yourself well, you are less likely to be thrown off balance by criticism or setbacks because you have a stable sense of who you are and what you are capable of. Confident people typically have a realistic but positive relationship with their limitations. They do not pretend to be good at everything. They acknowledge their limitations while focusing their energy on developing their strengths. Inner confidence also requires developing emotional resilience, the ability to bounce back from setbacks, disappointments, and failures without losing your sense of self-worth or capability. This does not mean never feeling hurt or discouraged. It means having the internal resources to process these experiences and extract learning and growth from them. The way you interpret and respond to failure significantly impacts your confidence development. People with growing confidence view failures as learning opportunities rather than evidence of inadequacy. This growth mindset, as researcher Carol Dweck calls it, is fundamental to building lasting confidence. It means viewing abilities as developable rather than fixed, seeing challenges as opportunities to grow rather than threats to your self-image, and understanding that effort and persistence are pathways to mastery. Social confidence develops through positive social experiences and the cultivation of genuine social skills. Many people struggle with it because they focus on trying to impress others rather than developing the skills to connect genuinely and contribute positively. Real social confidence comes from knowing that you can add value to others' lives, that you can handle social challenges gracefully, and that you can be authentically yourself in social situations. When you possess genuine inner confidence, it naturally expresses itself in your presence, communication, and behavior without any need for performance or pretense. You become comfortable taking up appropriate space, expressing your thoughts and opinions, and pursuing your goals with determination. This authentic confidence is magnetic because others can sense its genuineness and stability. The magnetism of authentic curiosity and genuine interest in others. In a world where most people are primarily focused on themselves, their own problems, and their own desire to be heard, the person who possesses authentic curiosity about others stands out as remarkably attractive and magnetic. This is not about being nosy or intrusive. It is about having a genuine fascination with the complexity, experiences, and perspectives of other human beings. The psychology behind why curiosity is so attractive is rooted in fundamental human needs for validation, understanding, and connection. When someone shows genuine interest in who you are, what you think, and how you experience the world, it creates a powerful feeling of being valued and appreciated. This experience is rare enough that when people encounter it, they find themselves drawn to the person who provided it. Authentic curiosity is different from polite interest or social obligation. It is a genuine desire to understand and learn from others, driven not by what you might gain from the interaction, but by inherent fascination with human complexity and diversity. People can sense the difference between someone who is asking questions because they think they should and someone who is genuinely interested in the answers. Developing authentic curiosity requires shifting from a self-focused to an other-focused mindset in social interactions. Instead of thinking about what you want to say next, how you are being perceived, or what you can get from the interaction, you focus your attention on understanding the person in front of you as completely as possible. Genuine curiosity expresses itself through the quality of questions you ask and the attention you pay to answers. Surface-level curiosity might ask, "What do you do for work?" Deep curiosity might follow up with, "What drew you to that field?" Or, "What is the most challenging part of your work?" Or, "How has that work changed the way you see the world?" Authentic curiosity is also interested in people's inner experiences, not just their external circumstances. How do they think and feel about their experiences? What have they learned from their challenges? What drives their decisions and priorities? This level of curiosity creates what many people rarely experience: the feeling that someone is genuinely interested in their story. Most social interactions remain at surface levels because neither person is curious enough to explore deeper layers. When you approach others with real curiosity, you often discover fascinating aspects of their lives, thoughts, and experiences that would never emerge in typical social exchanges. Curious people also tend to be excellent conversationalists because they know how to draw out the best in others. They create opportunities for others to feel intelligent, interesting, and valued through the conversation. This is a form of emotional generosity. You are giving others the gift of your attention and interest, which often helps them see themselves in a more positive light and feel more confident and appreciated. The practice of authentic curiosity also expands your own understanding of the world. Every person you encounter has had experiences you have never had, has knowledge you do not possess, and has perspectives that could expand your own thinking. Approaching others with curiosity means viewing every interaction as a potential learning opportunity. This learning mindset is attractive because it signals intellectual humility and openness to growth. Developing authentic curiosity requires overcoming several common barriers. Many people are so focused on their own concerns and insecurities that they have little mental and emotional energy left to be genuinely curious about others. Some people avoid curiosity because they are afraid of what they might learn, worried that deeper exploration might reveal differences that make them uncomfortable. Practicing authentic curiosity means developing comfort with not knowing, with being surprised by what you learn, and with having your assumptions challenged. It means approaching others with what Zen practitioners call beginner's mind, the willingness to encounter each person as if meeting them for the first time. When you develop authentic curiosity as a core part of how you engage with others, people seek out your company because they enjoy how they feel when talking with you. They share more openly because they trust your genuine interest. They view you as someone who understands and appreciates them for who they really are. Mastering nonverbal communication and subtle influence. The vast majority of human communication happens below the level of conscious awareness, through micro-expressions, body language, vocal tonality, and energy patterns that our brains process instantaneously but rarely analyze explicitly. People with magnetic attraction have typically developed the ability to communicate powerfully through these nonverbal channels, while remaining sensitive to the nonverbal communications of others. Within milliseconds of encountering someone, your brain has assessed their emotional state, confidence level, social status, and potential threat or attraction level based primarily on nonverbal cues. This means your nonverbal communication is constantly shaping how others perceive and respond to you, regardless of what you are saying with words. The foundation of powerful nonverbal communication is congruence between your internal state and external expression. When your thoughts, emotions, and intentions are aligned and authentic, your nonverbal communication naturally becomes more powerful and attractive. When there is incongruence, people sense something is off even if they cannot articulate what it is. This is why working on your internal state is so crucial. You cannot fake the micro-expressions, energy patterns, and subtle cues that emerge from genuine confidence, emotional stability, and authentic interest in others. Facial expressions are one of the most powerful forms of nonverbal communication, yet most people are largely unconscious of what their face is communicating. The most important facial communication skills involve eye contact patterns, genuine versus forced smiling, and overall facial relaxation. A genuine smile involves not just the mouth but the entire face, particularly the eyes. Fake smiles are easily detected because they do not engage the muscles around the eyes that create the slight squinting and wrinkles that accompany authentic positive emotion. Vocal tonality carries enormous amounts of emotional and social information. The pace, pitch, volume, and resonance of your voice communicate confidence, emotional state, and social positioning more powerfully than the words you are speaking. Attractive vocal communication is characterized by speaking from a relaxed, grounded place rather than from tension or anxiety, typically resulting in a slightly deeper, more resonant voice. The pace is moderate, allowing for clear articulation. Vocal confidence also involves being comfortable with pauses and silence, rather than filling every moment with sound. Open, upright postures generally signal confidence and approachability, while closed, collapsed postures tend to signal insecurity or defensiveness. The key is not to adopt rigid power poses, but to find postures that feel both confident and authentic to you. Taking up appropriate space demonstrates confidence without being inconsiderate. Open gestures, where your palms are visible and your movements are fluid, tend to be perceived as more trustworthy and engaging than closed or jerky movements. The key is developing gestures that feel natural and support your verbal communication rather than distracting from it. Energy and presence are perhaps the most subtle but powerful forms of nonverbal communication. People can sense whether you are genuinely present and engaged or distracted and disconnected, whether you are calm and centered or anxious and scattered. Developing attractive energy requires working on your internal state through practices like meditation, physical exercise, emotional regulation techniques, and stress management. When your internal state is calm, confident, and genuinely interested in others, this expresses itself naturally in your energy and presence. Subtle influence through nonverbal communication means becoming skilled at creating environments where others feel comfortable, valued, and appreciated. This might involve matching the energy level of others when appropriate, using mirroring techniques to create unconscious rapport, or simply maintaining such positive and stable energy that others feel better when they are around you. The goal is always to create mutual benefit and positive experiences. Reading others' nonverbal communication is equally important. Learning to recognize signs of comfort and discomfort, interest and boredom, agreement and disagreement, so you can adjust your approach and respond more effectively to others' needs. Creating meaningful connections without neediness or desperation. The ability to form deep, meaningful connections with others while maintaining your own center and independence is perhaps the most attractive quality a person can possess. This skill allows you to engage authentically and openly with others without the energy-draining neediness or desperate attachment that repels people and prevents genuine intimacy from developing. The psychology of neediness reveals why it is so destructive to attraction and connection. When you approach relationships from a place of need or desperation, you are essentially communicating that you do not have enough internal resources to feel complete or secure on your own. This creates pressure for the other person to fill your emotional needs, which most people find overwhelming and unattractive. Neediness also distorts your ability to see and respond to others clearly, because you are filtering everything through the lens of your own unmet needs. The foundation of creating meaningful connections without neediness is developing what psychologists call secure attachment and emotional independence. This does not mean being emotionally unavailable or refusing to depend on others in healthy ways. It means having enough internal stability and self-worth that you can engage in relationships from a place of choice rather than desperation. Emotional independence develops through building a solid relationship with yourself, developing internal resources for emotional regulation and self-soothing, and creating a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling independent of romantic or social relationships. When your sense of worth and security comes primarily from internal sources, you can engage with others from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. This internal abundance allows you to approach relationships with what researchers call generous curiosity. Instead of being primarily focused on what you can get from interactions, you become genuinely interested in understanding, appreciating, and supporting others. Creating meaningful connections also requires developing what attachment researchers call differentiation, the ability to remain yourself while in close relationship with others. Many people lose themselves in relationships, adopting the interests, opinions, and preferences of others in an attempt to maintain connection and approval. This loss of self actually undermines connection because it eliminates the very uniqueness and authenticity that made you attractive in the first place. Maintaining differentiation means staying connected to your own values, interests, and goals even when they differ from those of people you care about. It means being willing to disagree, to maintain your own opinions, and to pursue your own path. The ability to create meaningful connections also requires developing comfort with vulnerability and emotional intimacy. Real connection requires the willingness to share your authentic thoughts, feelings, and experiences even when they are not perfectly polished or impressive. Healthy vulnerability involves sharing appropriate levels of authenticity based on the level of relationship and the other person's capacity to receive and respond supportively. Developing meaningful connection skills also involves learning to handle conflict and disagreement constructively rather than avoiding it. Healthy relationship skills include the ability to express disagreement respectfully, to listen to others' perspectives without becoming defensive, and to work together to find solutions that honor both people's needs. Creating meaningful connections also involves developing realistic expectations about relationships. Needy people often expect others to meet needs that are impossible for any single person to fulfill, such as making them feel completely secure or validating all their choices. Being present without agenda is equally essential. Many people approach social interactions with hidden agendas, whether trying to impress others, get something they need, or avoid rejection. Being present without agenda means approaching interactions with openness to whatever unfolds naturally. When people sense that you are not trying to get something from them or manipulate them toward a particular outcome, they can engage more openly and genuinely. The integration of emotional independence, generous curiosity, healthy differentiation, appropriate vulnerability, conflict resolution skills, realistic expectations, and agenda-free presence creates the capacity for meaningful connection that enhances rather than drains everyone involved. When you possess these qualities, people naturally want to spend time with you because they feel better about themselves and more alive when they are in your presence. Reading social dynamics and navigating complex group interactions. The ability to quickly assess and skillfully navigate complex social dynamics is one of the most sophisticated forms of social intelligence. Most people are largely unconscious of the invisible social currents that flow through every group interaction, missing crucial information that could help them connect more effectively and contribute more positively. Every social group has multiple layers of dynamics operating simultaneously: formal hierarchies and informal power structures, existing relationships and tensions, unspoken rules and expectations, and individual personalities with different needs and communication styles. People who can perceive and navigate these dynamics skillfully become natural leaders and sought-after companions. The foundation of reading social dynamics is developing what researchers call social situational awareness. This involves stepping back from your own concerns and anxieties to observe the broader patterns of interaction, the emotional undercurrents, and the needs and motivations of different individuals within the group context. Most people enter social situations focused primarily on their own performance, worrying about how they are being perceived. This self-focused attention prevents them from seeing the rich complexity of social information that is constantly available. Shifting to social situational awareness means asking different questions. What is the overall energy and mood of this group? Who are the formal and informal leaders? What are the unspoken tensions or alliances? Who seems comfortable and who seems out of place? How can I contribute positively to the collective experience? Formal power is usually obvious through titles, roles, or explicit authority. Informal power is more subtle and emerges through expertise, charisma, social connections, or the ability to influence group decisions. Learning to recognize informal power requires paying attention to who others look to for opinions, whose suggestions get implemented, and who can change the mood or direction of conversations. Understanding group roles and dynamics also helps you navigate complex interactions more skillfully. Different people naturally fall into different roles within groups, The leader, the supporter, the challenger, the peacemaker, the entertainer, the observer. Recognizing these patterns helps you understand how you can contribute most effectively. Sometimes the most valuable contribution is stepping into a role that is missing or supporting someone who is already filling an important role effectively. The ability to diffuse tension and redirect negative dynamics is one of the most valuable social skills you can develop. Tension diffusion might involve acknowledging different perspectives without taking sides, introducing humor appropriately to lighten the mood, redirecting conversation toward common ground, or simply modeling calm and respectful energy. The key is intervening early before conflicts escalate. Reading and responding to group energy levels is another sophisticated social skill. Groups have natural rhythms of energy that ebb and flow throughout interactions. Sometimes the energy is high and playful. Sometimes it is serious and focused. Sometimes it is tired and ready for closure. Matching and working with these energy patterns rather than fighting against them makes you a more effective and appreciated group member. Advanced social navigation requires understanding and respecting different communication styles and cultural backgrounds within diverse groups. What feels like confident leadership to one person might feel like aggression to another. Cultural and stylistic sensitivity allows you to adapt your communication approach based on the preferences and comfort levels of different individuals within the group. It does not mean losing your authenticity. It means expressing your authenticity in ways that can be received and appreciated by diverse audiences. When you can read social situations accurately and respond appropriately, you become someone others seek out for important interactions because they trust your judgment and value your positive influence. Sustaining attractiveness through continuous growth and self-development. One of the most common mistakes people make when developing attractiveness is treating it as a destination rather than a journey. They work on building confidence, improving their social skills, or developing their presence until they reach a certain level, and then they stop growing and start coasting. This approach inevitably leads to stagnation and decline, because attractiveness, like physical fitness, requires ongoing maintenance and continuous development. The people who remain consistently attractive throughout their lives understand that personal development is not a project to be completed, but a lifestyle to be embraced. Humans are naturally drawn to people who are expanding, evolving, and becoming more capable over time. There is something inherently magnetic about someone who is actively engaged in the process of self-improvement and life enhancement. This attraction to growth is rooted in evolutionary psychology. Throughout human history, the ability to learn, adapt, and develop new capabilities has been strongly correlated with survival and thriving. Continuous growth also prevents the staleness and predictability that can undermine long-term attractiveness. When you are constantly learning new things, developing new skills, and exploring new aspects of yourself and the world, you remain interesting and dynamic. The foundation of sustainable attractiveness is intrinsic motivation, the drive to grow and develop that comes from internal satisfaction rather than external rewards or validation. People who are intrinsically motivated to improve maintain their development efforts even when no one is watching, because the process itself is fulfilling and meaningful. This means choosing growth opportunities that genuinely interest and challenge you, pursuing excellence because you value excellence, and developing skills because you enjoy mastery. The practice of continuous learning is fundamental to maintaining long-term attractiveness. This does not necessarily mean formal education, although that can be valuable. It means maintaining curiosity about the world and your place in it, seeking out new experiences and perspectives, and remaining open to changing your mind when you encounter better information. Continuous learners are attractive because they are mentally alive and engaged. They have interesting things to talk about, fresh perspectives to share, and the intellectual humility to admit when they want to learn more. The areas of learning that tend to enhance attractiveness most include emotional intelligence, communication skills, cultural knowledge, creative expression, physical health and fitness, and whatever professional or personal interests genuinely fascinate you. The key is to maintain active engagement in multiple areas rather than becoming narrowly focused on only one aspect of development. Physical health and fitness deserve special attention because they affect every other aspect of your attractiveness and life satisfaction. Maintaining physical vitality requires ongoing commitment to exercise, nutrition, sleep, and stress management. The attractiveness of physical fitness goes beyond appearance to include the qualities that maintaining fitness requires and develops: discipline, persistence, goal-setting ability, and the confidence that comes from overcoming physical challenges. Emotional and psychological development is equally important. This includes developing greater self-awareness, emotional regulation skills, empathy, resilience, and the ability to form deeper and more meaningful relationships. Ongoing emotional development might involve therapy, meditation, journaling, reading, seeking feedback from trusted friends, or working with coaches or mentors. Creative expression and skill development also contribute significantly to long-term attractiveness. Having creative outlets and areas of developing expertise makes you more interesting and gives you sources of satisfaction and confidence that do not depend on other people's approval. Whether it is music, art, writing, cooking, gardening, craftsmanship, or any other creative pursuit, having areas where you are developing mastery creates depth and richness in your personality. The practice of regular self-reflection is crucial for maintaining growth momentum. This involves regularly assessing where you are in different areas of your life, what is working well, what needs improvement, and what new areas you want to explore. Without this reflection, it is easy to coast on past achievements without continuing to push yourself forward. Setting progressive challenges for yourself ensures that you do not become complacent. These challenges should be significant enough to promote real growth, but achievable enough to maintain confidence and momentum. The integration of continuous learning, physical maintenance, emotional development, creative expression, social skill refinement, regular self-reflection, and progressive goal setting creates a lifestyle of growth that maintains and enhances attractiveness throughout your life. When growth becomes a core part of your identity, you naturally attract others who value development and excellence. Handling rejection, criticism, and social setbacks with grace and resilience. Nothing tests your attractiveness and social intelligence like how you handle rejection, criticism, and social setbacks. These challenging experiences are inevitable parts of life, and your response to them either enhances or undermines your appeal to others. People who can navigate these difficulties with grace, learn from them constructively, and maintain their confidence and warmth despite setbacks are incredibly attractive because they demonstrate emotional maturity and resilience. The psychology of rejection reveals why it affects people so powerfully. From an evolutionary perspective, social rejection was literally life-threatening for our ancestors because survival depended on remaining part of the group. Our brains still process rejection as a threat to survival, which explains why it can feel so devastatingly painful. However, in modern life, most social rejection is not actually threatening to your survival or well-being. Learning to differentiate between the emotional intensity of rejection and its actual significance allows you to respond more proportionally. The most attractive people understand that rejection often has little to do with their inherent worth, and much more to do with compatibility, timing, circumstances, and the other person's current needs and preferences. Someone might reject you not because you are unattractive or unworthy, but because you are not what they are looking for at this particular time, because they are dealing with personal issues that make relationships difficult, or simply because there is no chemistry. This understanding allows you to maintain compassion for both yourself and the other person when rejection occurs. The skill of handling criticism gracefully is equally important. Criticism tends to trigger defensive responses that can make you less attractive and prevent you from learning valuable information. Attractive people have learned to receive criticism with curiosity rather than defensiveness. They listen to understand what truth might be present in the feedback, even if it is delivered poorly or with negative intentions. They separate the useful information from the emotional charge and use criticism as data for self-improvement. This does not mean accepting all criticism as valid or allowing others to treat you disrespectfully. It means developing the emotional regulation skills to hear feedback without immediately becoming reactive, and the discernment to evaluate whether criticism contains useful information for your growth. The practice of extracting value from negative feedback requires asking yourself questions like, is there any truth in this criticism that I can learn from? What might I be doing that creates this response in others? How can I use this information to improve? What does this tell me about this person's values or preferences? This learning orientation toward criticism makes you more attractive because it demonstrates intellectual humility, emotional maturity, and commitment to growth. Social setbacks, such as embarrassing moments, social mistakes, or conflicts with others, provide opportunities to demonstrate resilience and grace under pressure. The most attractive response to social setbacks involves acknowledging what happened without dramatizing it, taking appropriate responsibility without excessive self-blame, learning from the experience without becoming paralyzed by it, and moving forward with confidence intact. This might involve offering a genuine apology when appropriate, using appropriate humor to diffuse tension, or simply acknowledging a mistake and moving on without making it the center of attention. Developing resilience requires building cognitive flexibility, the ability to see situations from multiple perspectives and find constructive meanings even in difficult experiences. Instead of interpreting setbacks as evidence of personal failure or social inadequacy, resilient people view them as learning opportunities or simply part of the normal challenges of human interaction. One rejection does not mean you are universally unattractive. One criticism does not mean you are fundamentally flawed. One social mistake does not mean you are socially incompetent. The practice of self-compassion is fundamental to handling social difficulties gracefully. This involves treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a good friend going through similar challenges. Self-compassion does not mean making excuses. It means recognizing that everyone makes mistakes, faces rejection, and experiences social difficulties, and that these experiences do not negate your value or potential for future success. The ability to bounce back quickly from social difficulties is incredibly attractive because it signals emotional resilience and stability. Each time you face a social challenge and handle it well, you build evidence of your ability to cope with difficulties, which increases your confidence for future challenges. Becoming a person others seek out, the principles of social magnetism. The highest level of social attractiveness is becoming someone that others actively seek out. Not just tolerate or occasionally enjoy spending time with. but someone whose company is genuinely valued and desired. These socially magnetic individuals have developed a combination of qualities that make others feel better about themselves and more alive when they are around them. The foundation of social magnetism is what psychologists call positive emotional contagion. Emotions are literally contagious, transmitted through mirror neurons and unconscious mimicry. When you consistently embody positive, stable, engaging energy, people unconsciously begin to feel more positive, stable, and engaged themselves. Socially magnetic people have learned to maintain emotional states that others find uplifting and energizing. This does not mean being artificially positive or denying negative emotions. It means developing emotional regulation skills that allow you to process difficulties privately and show up in social situations from a place of genuine well-being. You cannot fake positive energy consistently. It must emerge from actual well-being and life satisfaction, developed through regular exercise, stress management, meaningful work, healthy relationships, and activities that bring you genuine joy. The second principle is what researchers call unconditional positive regard, approaching others with fundamental acceptance and appreciation for who they are, separate from whether they can give you anything or meet your needs. People are magnetically drawn to those who make them feel accepted and valued without conditions or judgment. This does not mean having no standards or boundaries. It means recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of others while maintaining healthy expectations for how you want to be treated. Unconditional positive regard expresses itself through genuine interest in others, non-judgmental listening, and the ability to see and acknowledge people's strengths and potential. The third principle is social generosity, looking for ways to add value to others' lives through your presence, skills, knowledge, connections, or support. This might involve sharing useful information, making helpful introductions, offering emotional support, celebrating others' successes, or simply bringing positive energy and interesting conversation. The key is giving without keeping score or expecting immediate returns. This generosity creates positive cycles where your investment in others' well-being motivates them to invest in yours. The fourth principle is intellectual and emotional stimulation. Magnetic people are interesting to be around because they bring fresh perspectives, ask thought-provoking questions, share fascinating experiences, and engage with life in ways that inspire others to think and feel more deeply. This does not require being brilliant or having extraordinary experiences. It requires maintaining curiosity about life, continuing to learn and grow, and being willing to explore ideas and experiences that expand your understanding of yourself and the world. Intellectually stimulating people read widely, pursue diverse interests, travel when possible, engage with different types of people, and maintain active engagement with whatever subjects fascinate them. The fifth principle is social leadership, which does not necessarily mean formal authority, but rather the ability to positively influence group dynamics and help social situations become more enjoyable and meaningful for everyone involved. Social leaders might initiate conversations, suggest activities, introduce people to each other, diffuse tension, or simply model the kind of energy and engagement they want to see in the group. This leadership emerges naturally when you combine genuine care for others' well-being with the confidence to take initiative and the social skills to guide interactions in positive directions. The sixth principle is authenticity and emotional transparency. While this might seem contradictory to maintaining positive energy, the most magnetic people have learned to be genuinely themselves, including appropriate sharing of their struggles, uncertainties, and growth areas. This authenticity gives others permission to be real as well, rather than maintaining exhausting social facades. When you can be both positive and real, both confident and humble, both strong and vulnerable, you create space for deeper, more meaningful connections. The key is sharing authentically in ways that invite connection rather than dumping emotional burdens on others inappropriately. The seventh principle is social intelligence in action. Reading social situations accurately and responding in ways that enhance rather than detract from group dynamics. Magnetic people know how to connect with introverts and extroverts, direct communicators and indirect ones, serious people and playful ones. The integration of positive emotional presence, unconditional positive regard, social generosity, intellectual and emotional stimulation, social leadership, authenticity, and social intelligence creates a quality of social magnetism that draws others consistently and powerfully. When you embody these principles, people begin reaching out to you more frequently. You get invited to more social events and opportunities. Others seek your advice and perspective. You become someone people think of when they want to have meaningful conversations or enjoyable experiences. This social magnetism creates upward spirals where positive social experiences lead to increased confidence and social skills, which lead to even more positive social experiences. Integration and mastery, becoming naturally attractive through authentic self-development. The journey from trying to be attractive to naturally being attractive represents a fundamental transformation in how you relate to yourself and others. This final chapter integrates everything you have learned into a coherent approach to life that creates lasting attractiveness through authentic self-development rather than performance. The goal is not to add attractive behaviors to an unchanged personality, but to become a person whose natural way of being in the world is inherently magnetic. This transformation happens when the principles explored throughout this session become so integrated into your identity that they express themselves automatically, without conscious effort. True mastery of silent attraction occurs when you stop thinking about being attractive and start simply being attractive. This happens when your internal development reaches a point where confidence, emotional stability, social intelligence, and genuine care for others emerge naturally from who you are rather than what you are trying to do. Attractiveness is not a collection of separate skills, but an emergent property of psychological and emotional development. When you develop genuine confidence, emotional intelligence, social skills, and personal depth, attractiveness emerges as a natural byproduct. The foundation of this integration is authentic self-expression. Developing such a clear sense of who you are, what you value, and what you stand for that you can express yourself genuinely in any situation without losing your center or compromising your integrity. This requires extensive self-knowledge, understanding your strengths and weaknesses, values and priorities, natural communication style, and genuine interests and passions. When you know yourself deeply, you can be yourself consistently, creating the coherence and authenticity that others find magnetic. This authenticity is attractive because it is rare. When others encounter someone who is genuinely themselves regardless of social context, it is both refreshing and inspiring. It gives others permission to be more authentic as well. Developing authentic self-expression requires courage to be yourself even when it is not popular or immediately rewarded. To express your genuine thoughts respectfully, to pursue your real interests rather than what you think will impress others, and to make decisions based on your values rather than social pressure. Each time you express yourself genuinely and experience acceptance, you build confidence in your authentic self. Each time you compromise authenticity for approval and feel dissatisfied, you strengthen your motivation to be more genuine. The integration process also involves effortless excellence, developing the skills discussed in this session to such a level that they become automatic expressions of who you are rather than conscious techniques you remember to use. Effortless excellence develops through deliberate practice, consistently working on skills just beyond your comfort zone with full attention and intention to improve. Over time, advanced skills become natural and automatic, allowing you to focus on even higher levels of development. This means practicing emotional regulation until maintaining calm confidence becomes your natural state, developing social intelligence until reading group dynamics and responding appropriately becomes instinctive. The transformation also involves shifting from external validation to internal satisfaction as your primary source of self-worth. When your sense of value comes from your own assessment of your growth, contribution, and authenticity rather than others' approval, you become more attractive because you are not needy or desperate for validation. This internal orientation allows you to engage with others from abundance rather than scarcity. You can be genuinely interested in others because you are not constantly worried about whether they like you. You can express yourself authentically because you do not need their approval to feel good about yourself. Developing intrinsic motivation means choosing growth because you value growth, pursuing excellence because you value excellence, and expanding your capabilities because you are curious about your potential. When you are motivated by the joy of learning, the satisfaction of contributing, and the fulfillment of expressing your authentic self, you become naturally attractive because your energy is positive and self-generated. The mastery of silent attraction also involves understanding that true attractiveness is about service to others rather than personal gain. When you develop yourself to contribute more effectively to others' well-being and happiness, attractiveness emerges as a natural byproduct of your positive impact. This service orientation does not mean self-sacrifice or people-pleasing. It means developing yourself to be genuinely helpful, supportive, and enriching to others' lives. When people feel better about themselves and more alive when they are around you, they naturally want more of your presence. The final aspect of integration is understanding that this transformation is ongoing rather than completed. Authentic self-development is a lifelong process of growth, learning, and evolution. The most attractive people understand that they are always becoming rather than already finished. This growth orientation keeps you interesting and dynamic throughout your life. There is always something new to discover about you, new depths to explore, new skills being developed. This continued evolution prevents stagnation and keeps you engaged with life in ways that inspire others. The integration of authentic self-expression, effortless excellence, internal validation, service orientation, and commitment to ongoing growth creates a way of being that is inherently and sustainably attractive. You become someone others naturally want to be around, not because you are performing attractiveness, but because you are genuinely living in ways that create positive experiences for everyone involved. This transformation represents the ultimate goal of personal development, becoming a person whose natural way of being creates value for yourself and others while expressing your authentic potential. When you reach this level of integration, attractiveness becomes not something you do, but something you are, emerging naturally from the depth of your character and the quality of your presence. This has been a Brainpower audiobook session on silent attraction. The work begins now, and it begins inside.
Want the written version? Grab the PDF for half a cup of coffee, $2. Link is in the description and the comments.